So first of all, let me introduce about who we are. So we are at Fintech. We are Sri Lanka's leading Google Premier partner. We come with we come with 15 years of experience in the industry, and we are the only Google partner capable of selling Google Maps services within the country. So our portfolio includes many of the high-ranking companies within the country, and we have a team of highly skilled, certified engineers and sales agents who are able to carry forward your Google implementation if you choose to go that way. So first, let's start with what GMP is. So understanding GMP, by implementing Google Maps platform into any organization, what we achieve to we target aim to achieve is to increase that organization's business growth, to streamline its business operations, which might be done manually at the time. And then another main focus of implementing Google Maps is to elevate the customer experience and how to revolutionize the way that the customer interacts with the business. So to facilitate all these, Google Maps is offering services under 4 main categories, which are maps, routes, places, and environment. So the ENV sector is not applicable as of yet within the country, but the maps, routes, and the places API, services can be implemented in any business through their offered APIs, which are mentioned here. So once we move forward into the implementation phase, our technical team can get in touch with the technical teams of the organizations who choose to implement GMP, and we can select what specific offerings are suitable for that organization, and then we can move forward with doing that. So let's move on to the main part of today's webinar. So I wanted to bring forward how GMP can help in industries where implementing Google Maps is not a very obvious observation per se. So what we're doing here is finding out how Google Maps can help increase the areas that we mentioned earlier, like implementing, increasing the business growth, managing managing customer experiences within the organization, stuff like that. So we'll see. So first of all, I'll start with the obvious industry case that everyone is aware of, which is ride sharing. Okay, I hope my screen is coming through correctly now. So we'll start with ride sharing. So this is the most obvious use case that comes to your mind when Google Maps implementation is talked about, because we are familiar with companies like me and Uber using ride sharing based on top of Google Maps. So let's see how it was before these organizations came into play. So let's assume that before Uber was a thing, how ride sharing was done was we had to either call a cab service with a very limited number of drivers available, or we had to stand by the roadside and hail a truck which is going by. But by implementing Google Maps into this, there is organizations like Lyft, Uber, and PickMe have done is they have mitigated the inconvenience of this older method entirely. You no longer have to stand on a roadside and hail trucks which go nearby, or you don't have to depend on a cab service with very limited number of drivers available, so that you have to wait on a large or a very high time to get a ride, or you have to book days in advance. So those inconveniences were mitigated using these ride sharing apps. So where the ROI came, so implementing GP for these ride sharing apps wasn't a cost at first, but yes, but the ROI came significantly because these inconveniences are mitigated. They were able to. So to be frank, a leading ride-sharing partner in Sri Lanka had completed 20 rides every minute for a duration of, so when we summarize it, for a duration of 5 years, that one of the leading riding partners in Sri Lanka was able to cover 20 rides within 1 minute. So concurrently, weighing that against the investment they made in the initial stage, the ROI was very high because they were able to mitigate the inconvenience of the old system. So now we'll figure out how GMP can help your organization. So based on the form that I submitted earlier, I have marked down some industry cases. Based on the response for that form, I have marked down some industry cases where GMP is not an obvious solution, but yes, it can be implemented. So I would go one by one. And again, I would. This would be very convenient if the participants could in the chat message me what industry sector they are from, and then we can specifically discuss about those relevant industry sectors rather than discussing on everything. So I'm looking forward to your messages in the chat. Just type in what industry sector you fall under, and we can discuss how GMP can help that industry sector. Am I clearly audible? Thank you, Nishant. So, if you can share the industry that you are from, I can specifically talk relevant to you. You are in industry, or else I can go forward with what I have prepared. So I will start on my end. So I will come to your responses and we'll discuss on that as well. So first of all, I'll start with one of the interesting. Again, I will start with something very obvious. So we'll start with field service agents. So field service agents are a very manpower-oriented industry. So basically, companies who offer services like, let's say, Dialog, SLT, or companies who offer products like Eslon or some other companies like that. All these companies need to address their customer queries. To do so, they need an active team of service agents to be actively taking care of these incidents within the country. So to do that, so currently the existing solution is they have to come to a centralized office in the morning, and then they are given a list of service points that they need to check every day on that day, and then they have to manually go there and check the location and find it. So straight away when you can notice that there are very there are some inconveniences in this method. First of all, the planning part is done manually by a manager or an executive who is in the centralized office, and then figuring out the order of how you visit the service points is up to the service agent. So they take they can make some human errors, and they can select the wrong order, resulting in fuel wastage and time wastage. These are very few incidents. So building on top of that, by implementing Google Maps platform into this existing solution, what we can do is, let's say we make an interactive map which is available to everyone who is the organization digitally. So on that map, the customers as well can, if they have a service need, they can mark their location. So when that location is marked, it is shared within everyone, and then the back office admin or the person who used to do manually make the routes and service sections, who used to do those planning parts manually, he gets all this data, and then with a single button click in the backend, Google has a service offering called Routes Matrix API, which can map multiple drivers into multiple locations, giving the shortest path or the most efficient path. So what this entails is a task that which the back office manager took, let's say 30 minutes to do. Once the customers have entered their locations, that person can do this task within 2 to 3 minutes. So the savings in time. Anyway, as a business, we are paying all our employees. So when that task that took 30 minutes takes 2 minutes, that frees up that employee to do something much more productive. And even on the drivers, so rather than just guessing the path which they have to do, they are automatically given a list of service stations which they in an order, which creates a most efficient route which they can cover within. Again, the back office can monitor completely whether they stick to this route. So once we have the customer's location, the backup, how it is now is that we have to trust on the service agent's word that they have visited that location and they have done the service work. But with Google Maps, we can set something called a geofence around the service location that needs to be taken care of. And when the service agent visits that location, only he is able to submit that he has done that, he has completed that service area. So all these things can be tracked very efficiently using GMP. What this entails is, by using GMP, we can mitigate first of all the time wastage. So planning phase is decreased by 15 times, and then fuel and even manpower and man-hour wastage can be mitigated, because the Google Maps platform will anyway give the most efficient route. So wastage in these sectors can be easily mitigated using this. So let's see. I saw that there are some messages from this. Okay. Mr. Nishanta, if you can tell me what your industry sector is, I can directly assist you with how GMP can help you. And Ms. Nimesha as well, if you can leave it in the chat, it would be helpful. So I will be going with you. So we completed ride sharing and field services. These are very obvious sectors where Google Maps can play a part. So right now we'll try to go into a sector where Google Maps is not a very obvious solution at first glance. So we'll go into finance and consultancy region, because this is one of the very interesting records that I got in the form that I submitted to you guys. So let's see how Google Maps can offer the finance sector. So I was actually quite intrigued by this myself. So finance. Okay, so we'll be discussing about the finance sector, the finance, accountancy, and consultancy sector. So one of the existing issues in the finance sector is in personal accountancy. So when we do audits and everything, so we don't do audits every week. So we do this, let's say, for a personal audit, we do it once a year. So an auditor, one of the auditors that we have provided the client when they have to go through these audit records, and let's assume we have double checked with the customer on some records. So then the customer is after when we ask him about a record, let's say after 6 months, he's unclear. He can't remember clearly what they did. So in auditing process, there's this unclear customer being unable to clearly mention what the transaction record was. There's that issue. And then in consultation services, so when we provide market analysis to the customers who come to us, then when we do the market analysis, if we leave out the geospatial sector, so we are missing out on all those crucial data like demographics and spend-based capacity based according to the geographical neighborhood. So stuff like that we miss out. So using Google Maps, how we can mitigate is actually we do have an in-house solution on this aspect. So what we usually do is for this personal auditing, we have provided solution where each and every single transaction that person is made is validated alongside. So currently, when I go into my banking app, it only says some letters, and I have taken out this amount. So that's my transaction. That's how my transaction history is represented. So what we do is each and every single transaction record, we validate it with the place detail where it has been done. So what that means is, so let's assume I spent 500 rupees at Kiosk in Naval. So in my transaction record, it would not. Let's say so on what at what specific location and what time. So so then for the initially the auditing record has much more data, which is so all this data is automatically fetched by Google, by the Google Maps platform, and given into a additional manual tasks that take place. And so this is the initial thing. So building further on that as well. So once we do have this spatial information based spending patterns, let's say I'm the bank who the customer is using the credit card is from. Then by the end of the year, I have a heat map. Say let's say a heat map of where all my customers are spending, and on what specific branches, on what specific businesses my customers are mostly spending. So when I have to make a decision as a business, as a bank, so or as a consultancy who say, okay, this is where I have to do the marketing, then I have a very solid set of data based on these people from this area in this age category have been spending at this organization. So all the records are fetched to the platform, and it enables businesses to make more accurate, more precise business details, business decisions. So this financing, banking, and accounting were like not so obvious solution. And again, when I'm talking about this, so I just got another solution. So let's say I'm a consumer who's using my banking app. So we can implement Google Maps in my banking app as a bank, so that I can just search through my banking app what are the nearest stores. What are the nearest stores that are offering offers on my credit card? So that can be another part in my banking app. In a map, I can show, okay, at this location we are showing this. So all this data is in real time. So these are updated real time. So even for a sector like banking, finance, and consultancy, the implementation of Google Maps is really easy, and it's really convenient. It open up like pathways that are not obvious at first sight, but the ROI on this is very high. So again, another sector that GMP is not very obvious is agriculture and agribusiness. So yes, I agree that for a small scale farmer, a farmer who does his personal farming, GMP would not be very convenient, because yes, it can be implemented, but since the scale is very small, it might not be very convenient. But let's assume there's an agribusiness, a company like CSA with hundreds of acres of land, and which is being monitored by hundreds of employees day and night. So for an industry like this, the area that they have to continuously monitor is very large, very vast, and because of that, they need to employ a huge sector of farmers within their organization, just to monitor. So those farmers are having a hard time because they have to scan, they have to like manually monitor, like go and see whether what's with each and every sector of the farm is doing fine. If there are any crop mites, if there are any crops are dying, if some places need water or not, if some places need too much water. So all these things are done manually by the farmers. So they have to do these things manually. So what an agribusiness like CSA can do to mitigate these like workforce, high usage of workforce, that high time consuming nature for that workforce to control, monitor, and manage these parts. Then to make it more easier to manage these large vast area of land, physical land. So what these agribusinesses can do by implementing GMPs, let's assume it's a farmland with hundreds of acres. So they can map this area in GMP solution, and in the GMP solution, they can have their farm divided into, let's say, 10 by 10 meter sectors, blocks. So those blocks will be represented in their GMP profile. The GMP, let's say, a solution, a dashboard. So in that dashboard, for an agribusiness, we can have, let's say, a fleet of two drones each and with a camera, with a good camera, and those drones can monitor each and every single 10 meter sector by sector, and they can see using color degradations and crop growth rates. They can using video analysis. They can say, okay, this 10 meter sector, the plants are drying. This sector, the plants are drying. So then, when we do have that data, a farmer, let's say a farmer who has to treat these insects or plant decay, so they don't have to monitor the entire like hectares of area. They just have to go and treat that 10 meter by 10 meter area. So the time consuming part and the effort consuming part, and the manpower consuming part is very much mitigated through this. So for a task that took hours just to monitor, it can be done within minutes using the role fleet, and then to go and treat that place also to find out where the treatment need to be done. This the time taken to do that also is highly reduced. So that's how for a business like agribusiness or agriculture where GMP is not obvious, we can again, of course, I can talk about the obvious logistic part of agriculture, like taking your harvest to the store. So those things are obvious. So I just wanted to show out that the capabilities of GMP is not only to take you from point A to point B. It can do much more than that. Yes, it can take you from point A to point B, but that is the starter level. It's like knowing the alphabet and having a degree in literature. The difference is as much as that. So I'll go to again to the industry use case. Sorry. Okay. So I hope we have some. Great. Thank you, Mr. Nishant. So shipping and logistics. Shipping and logistics is how I say is where GMP shines at. So shipping and logistics is based on top of GMP. So the possibilities that GMP can do at shipping and logistics is fast. We start with logistics first. So for logistics, yes, we do have drivers. We do have fleets of logistic drivers, and we have sectors of we have stores. Yeah, I mean yards, and again we have yeah. So I'll talk about the logistic part first. Considering the fleet of delivery drivers who carry the containers and yards. So that will be my first one. So again, from let's assume I'm MSC or one or a freight forwarder in Sri Lanka. So I have so at Colombo port now I have 50 containers that need to be transported to my yard in Dematagada. So I need to do this. So right now I don't have centralized fleet of drivers kept at a single point, so that I can dispatch. So what I usually do is my secretary or someone from my import team has to reach up to these container drivers, and they have to figure out, okay, who's closest by to the port right now, and they have, or else what I usually do is I have kept all my drivers near the port, and so when a container comes by, I have to then because it'll be easier to do this. But this again is time consuming to the people who need to plan the delivery drivers. Even for the delivery drivers, they have to sit and wait at the port, waiting for a ship to dispatch, or else even for you. So you, as the owner of this logistic company, you don't have like trust. You can be 100% confident that yes, I have 50. I can allocate 50 drivers because I have 50 nearby the port at this point. So what Google Maps can do to mitigate this uncertainty in the logistics sector only is, so we can have again a dashboard built using a map where we have all our delivery drivers current live location in it. So we can either do a geocode, we can do a geocoding for each and every single driver and grab their current location, or we can give them GPS trackers if they prefer, and we have their exact location. So then let's assume we do, so now we don't have to keep them parked near the entrance of the port, figure out where they are, because we do at all times we know where they are, so we don't want to call out and find out, and then so figuring out where the drivers are parked is completed. Now for the managing part, ride planning. So my back office now I want 50 drivers to go to the port at the same time to get the 50 containers out. So what I want to do is, earlier what I did was I called out, let's say 50 driver, hundreds of drivers manually, and I redirect 50 who are available or who are closest. But now since I know the driver's locations at all times, what I can do is when I give the system I need 50 drivers, the system itself finds out who are the drivers who are closest by, or who has the shortest time conserving commute. Now let's say there's a driver in Ratnapura and there's a driver in let's say Gaur, not Ratnapura, Nikambo or Gaur. But due to the even though the Gaur driver is far away, but because he can come in highway, he can come faster than the one who's in let's say somewhere in Avisavel or somewhere. So let's just assume that's the case. So if that's the case, even though the Gaur driver is far away, the system is capable of considering the ETS, estimated time of arrivals, and allocate that driver to come there. So the way you want to do it done can be like customized according to your preferences. So we have mitigated the need to like find drivers each and every day, because we do have their locations with us there. And we have mitigated the need to manually plan or manually figure out these drivers. So then we have like reduced and like increased the efficiency of those two factors at this point. And still we even haven't we haven't even done the delivery part yet, but even now we have increased efficiency twofold. So then again, coming to the the proper delivery sector, like the drivers have the containers, now they just have to go and give it to the yard. So now what we do is in Google Maps, so yes, obviously everyone is using Google Maps, the mobile version. But when you have Google Maps platform integrated into your system, so what you can do is you can mark out the route that the driver has to go, and then you can monitor whether the drivers use that exact path. So when they have to go to Dematagada and come back, let's assume they go and do their personal errand at Kiribati and then go to Dematagada. So as of it is now, you have no way of tracking that. But we have this feature called Snap to Route, so which enables to like track the exact route that a delivery person has gone. So when you have that implemented, let's say at the end of the week or at the end of the month, you can see a report of the exact route that the drivers have gone. So if if you can see that there are deviations, then they have not been able to following your path. So what this does is, rather than just monitoring the drivers and seeing whether they are doing their part, you can, let's assume you are providing fuel and you are providing the vehicles as well. So you, by monitoring whether they are using the path that is given to them, you can, if it is not the case, then you can figure out, okay, this is why I've been spending so much time on fuel, because the drivers are going on a long path. So if I communicate that the path, the direction has to be maintained at all times, I can save money again on the fuel that I spend. And then machinery usage also is the same thing. So that way, the delivery sector, the actual driving the container on the road part can be, the efficiency in that part can also be increased. And again, then the other thing is yards. So let's assume you have a single yard in Dematagada. So in that area, we have something called a geofence. You can lay geofence on that yard. So what this entails is, let's assume a truck comes into that yard, or a truck leaves that yard, or container. I don't think that tagging off containers would be efficient. But for the sake of the argument, let's assume that you have tagged all the containers as well, container boxes as well. So in that case, so whenever a driver, a vehicle or a container either leaves or enters the yard, you can get a list of the times that these things happen. Like if a driver enters, so when you have this geofence implemented, if a driver enters the yard at 8 a.m., you get a record. Okay, this vehicle entered this yard at 8 a.m. And then when he leaves at night, you get a record. Okay, this person left the yard at 9. This container came to the yard at 8. So this container left the yard at 9. So there might be like use cases where this can help you in demurrage cost and like lost containers again, like to mitigate lost containers. If you implement this to the logistics sector, this is like a huge solution. So for the shipping sector, for actual on-sea shipping part, I think like the Sri Lankan government have some implementations like RC Hub or something implemented. I'm not I'm not well versed in that part, but so that again is based on tracking. So even for undersea, now we do some undersea cable mappings. Now when it comes to Google Maps, we say, oh, we have to monitor the roads. No, we track undersea topography as well. So the shipping sector, the RCM and all, they are also done. Like we will forget about that. But the ports, like from the port to the cargo sector, so the Port Authority can implement Google Maps to monitor everything that comes and goes from the port. So they can have a sector there. But since that's a government-based sector, the implementations are. And since there are some few existing implementations which already do use Google Maps, I'm not going to speak further about it. But in shipping and logistics, it's based on top of Google Maps. Like it can be highly revolutionized, highly made efficient using Google Maps, and the cost and the savings, the ROI part can easily be made into 50x at the least. So, Nishant, thank you for mentioning your industry sector. And Janidu and Nimesha, I would be thankful if you can tell your industry sector as well, so we can further discuss on it as well. Please feel free to unmute your mics at any time. Okay, Nimesha is also from shipping hours. Okay, so Nishanta and Nimesha, if you have any questions on what we discussed about logistics, please feel free to say it out loud or put it in the chat. I'll be happy to like answer specific questions, like or anything. If anything, even if it is unclear, you can just ask me. I'm more than happy to help you guys out. And what about Janidu? So are you also from shipping and logistics sector? So until
I'm from software IT.
Sorry, Janidu, you're from software.
Yeah.
So so are you a developer who's working with other like customers, or are you what kind of a software like development?
Yeah. I'm a software developer with some industrial applications.
Industrial applications, great. So Janidu, then all these sectors are I think relevant to you because you anyway would be handling multiple clients who might need GMP implementation. So for you, Janidu, if you want, I could like I would like to further like emphasize on these technical GMP implementations at a different or even a personal set if you want to like clarify anything, just personally reach out to me regarding GMP API implementations, how the pricing can be done and stuff like. I'm more than happy to help you.
Yeah,
So
sure, mate.
just to clarify things, I'll talk on let's say 2 more industry segments. And if you see anything interesting that you want to talk about here, just let me know. So I would like to talk again. I would like to again talk about a not so convenient sector, like not so obvious GMP sector, like education. So at first glance, when you look at education, there's no way that Google Maps can be implemented because there's no logistic component involved in it, or it's it's in the education sector. It's the least point that you can implement Google Maps. Even when I was a colleague of mine asked how the, Google Maps can be implemented in the education sector. At first, even I was trying to figure out how this can be done. Then when I figured out the way, the implementations were very obvious. So let's assume that we'll start from the very first section, like enrolling a student to a school. So in Sri Lanka, we have this distance restriction. So what the government itself can do is they can mark out all Sri Lanka maps, all the schools in Sri Lanka, and then let's assume the child has to be within 5 kilometer radius from that school to be able to eligible to enter that school. Then what we can do is we can set a geo fence with 5K around each and every single school. So whenever a parent needs to enroll a child into a school, but and the government can make that system readily available to, let's say, principals of each and every single government school. Then what the each and every what every individual school has to do is just when the application comes through, put that location in, type in the locations of all the applicants based on the applications, and then the system would automatically give it a list of eligible applicants based on the distance matrix. So even from the very first point in enrolling to a school, GMP can be implemented. And then another issue that most parents have post-COVID is because during COVID, like parents got used to having their children around them at all times, and then being able to reach out to them using their mobile phones and everything. So then now since we are like reverting back to the normal standard, which it used to be, now the change is like a bit difficult to most of the parents that I personally do know. So how GMP can help is let's assume we use, so basically the most simplest layman way to do this, like describe this is like using AR text. So how this can be done is, now let's say I have my child's school in a system. The school itself has to implement this. They have the school area mapped out. And when a student enters the school, let's assume they all have phones, or we have a device. We have to have a device like an AR tag. It doesn't have to be an AR tag. Similar device an IoT device can be manufactured. So when they have that, the parents know when the student enters the school, and at any time if a student leaves the school, the parent automatically gets a notification. So those entering and leaving sessions of my school, parents can get a notification, and an SOS button can be integrated into that particular device as well. So let's say, personally, when I fell in school and broke my arm, I had to go to a payphone back then, and then dial my father and say, so right now, and at that point, my dad was confused. He was panicking because he didn't know like where this happened at what part of the school. So he had to put everything back and rush into the school and find out where I was. So, but by implementing an SOS button into this IoT device, whenever the student needs help, he just have to click this, and the parents instantly get the allocation. So these things are GMP implementations that are not obvious at the very first glance. So, and then the third point I mentioned here is, this is again, I got this idea because of COVID. So students contracting viruses within the school. So census department actively has a list of geospatial data which says where like a virus outbreak is happening. So this is not real time, but it's very convenient and well, like they use very recent data. So let's say as school knows all the geolocations of, like in their system they have all the locations like geopings of the students' houses. So when if one of those geopings passes with the census data of like virus outbreak regions, then the school administration will get a notification automatically. Okay, these students are from virus hotspot areas. There might be a situation where a virus outbreak can happen within the school. So at this point, the administration can see, if the like if it's just one student or two students, yes, it's fine. Or because the decision making part is up to the school administration. So as it is now, the administration has no idea how, like until hundreds of students get ill, they don't get any. They don't know that there's an outbreak within the school. So with this implementation, we can figure out this thing before the ball drops. So the administration is able to pre-plan and do this efficiently. So like that, even for the industry where GAP is not obvious, we can do an GAP implementation. So, so rather than going on every single sector, since we are at a time crunch, I would like to ask if there are any questions from your end. Please feel free to use the chat. Okay, until I get a question, so since we have around 5 more minutes left, I'll give you guys time to send any questions if there are. So giving you guys time to do that, I would like to talk about our company a bit more. So at Fintech, as using Google Premier Partner, what we entail, we work with all these Google implementations as well: Google Workspace, Cloud, Chrome, Maps, Education, and Gemini. And on top of it, we have other components like AppSheets, LumenSign, DocuSign, Document, and TimeSpot. So with all these implementations, what we entail is we promise that we are able to deliver at least 15x productivity gains compared to the system that was initially there in the company after Fintech's implementations. So these 15x productivity, what we use as matrices is time-consuming metrics, the cost of like labor costs and operational costs, and the ROI that you get at the end of the billing cycle. So Fintech is a company that is actively aiming and achieving this 15x productivity with our existing clients. So if there are any questions, I would like the team to share it with me. And or otherwise, if you want, I think my email address is readily available to everyone. Or else, if you want to call and reach out, please feel free to call out at 071234732. And so any question is a valid question, and we are more than happy to help you guys out. So please call us out if you have any questions. And thank you all for taking the time to join today's session during busy schedule. the FineTech team is readily available to answer questions if they are. If you come across any in the future. So you can either call at this number, which is company common number, or use my personal email address and reach out to me. Thank you all for taking the time. We'll end the session here if there are no further questions.